Okay, guys. So I've had the Gnarvana for uh, roughly a month now, and pretty much have exclusively been riding it. So I thought today, there's some stuff on the Gnarvana. I'm just going to call it the Gnar. That's what I'm going to call it. And this boat, by the way, is named Nana. Um, so I'd done a video a while back. I had the code. I sold the code to get the Gnar. And the code, um, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but for me, the code is one of the best boats out there for where I live. Now, granted, uh, if I get to ride big water, it's just during, a big rain event, and it's not very often. Um, and because of that, I'm definitely not used to big water. I mean, it seems fine to me. Do I find it more difficult to ferry across the river and stuff? Of course I do. I'm not. I'm not used to it. Usually, if I can do a couple of laps, I start finding, it gets much easier to be able to move where I want to move. But at any rate, um, this is about the Gnar, and I am so. If you see this video and then you see this boat up for sale, it's not because that I don't like the boat. I do like the boat. But just like I like the code, and I sold the code to get the Gnarvana. I'm probably gonna sell this Gnarvana, and the direction that I'm gonna go, you might be like, really? Um, so I the things I like about this Gnarvana, and we'll set him down here on the stand and go over what I do like as well as what I don't like. So one of the things that I do like, so I'm just gonna, before I set it on the stand, I like the storage situation with the Gnarvana. And you may say, well, how's that any different than any other boat? Well, for one, the one thing that I really do like about Jackson is their back band. And especially this new back band with the way that they've got it run, it works tremendously well. The back band is comfortable. It's, of course it's easy to adjust. You pull the strings up, and if you're used to a ratchet system, you may be like, well, yeah, but I can look at my ratchets and tell exactly where, I'm at. You can on this also. You can tell exactly where you're at. And just like with the ratchets, it's really easy. So yesterday, so this is, I don't have my big water bottle in here. And I found that to be just fine, the water bottle holder. And normally I don't like laying a water bottle down. I usually like mine setting up where I can just pop the skirt, pull it out, take a couple of sips, slip it back in. I don't know, but I didn't get an Nalgene bottle with this boat. I don't know if Jackson quit giving bottles away or whatever. But we'll just unpack. So the first thing is the sponge, which I will say is one of the best sponges I've ever used. And then, so yesterday, because we were on a river that I didn't really know, I took 2 throw ropes, and because I knew it was kind of a bigger river, we done Chattooga Section 3, which is a haul for me. You know, I'm going to say that, and then some guys that lives in Raleigh might say, yeah, I don't want to hear it, a haul. So just take that with a grain of salt. You know, it's about, for me, it's I think close to 3.5 hours to get to the Chattooga. First time I had ever been there. A buddy of mine lives down that way and wanted to ride it, and I was like, okay. So took a 75-foot throw rope, and also on me I carry in my PFD a 50-foot throw rope that I carry in the PFD itself. And then of course you've got to have your batteries and you know, whatever else that you might need, and I can pretty well put about everything that I may need in this and my PFD. So we had that, and then the other thing is, because it was a little chilly yesterday, so as we you know, got ready to walk in, you know, I had an extra fleece that I was wearing and took it off right as we started packing in, a beanie, and then the rest of this I won't drag out, but well, yeah, some of it will. So headlamp, and then there's a pin kit in here, but there's also this little hand saw that's got a chainsaw thing on it and straps for holding. Wade Harrison done a good video on it, of the little handsaw thing. Wade does good videos on lots of stuff, so I watch his videos a lot, and I must say, if you don't watch Wade or don't like Wade, whatever, you should definitely give his channel a look, because he definitely does a good job reviewing stuff and tells you the real deal about it. So I also had this, and I was wearing it at first because it was a little cold. And then, let's see what else I've got in here. Oh yeah. So, a couple pairs of Coke Attack gloves, which if it gets really windy and cold, then I put them on and put my pogies on, and my hands don't ever get cold, because I don't like cold hands. I'm kind of a wimp. So anyway, and then I've got two big dry bags. I've also got a set of hand paddles in here. You know, so very easy. I don't have my watershed bag in here, but so if you wanted to use that, even more storage. And what I find is it's the entrance here into the stern of the boat is it's quite big, so it's easier to get stuff in there. And of course, Jackson's seat, as easy it is to adjust. You know, heck, you can just slide the seat way up and really get stuff in there. And I've been playing around with the adjustment of my seat position. And so far, I've went from the center position and I've slid it forward 1 notch. I'm going to continue to play around with it. And I'm going to go back, not to the middle, but I'm going to go from middle position back a notch and ride some stuff and see how it feels. I've not yet got the boat completely figured out. And, you know, with that being said, and just like I said, I'm going to tell you the stuff I love about the boat and some of the things that I don't love so much about the boat. The things that I do love, I love that they've, you know, good big grab handles. They have been used already, and especially this one here on the rear. a couple of times, pulling swimmers over. Um, I do prefer myself. I find it much easier, and you just take this as what it's worth. If you're swimming, maybe sometimes there's not a lot of time, but then sometimes there is, and I actually prefer for them to grab the front of the boat and kind of throw their legs up on the front. I find it easier to drive the boat and to paddle versus towing. It seems like it's a lot harder to pull a person than it is to push a person. But anyway, so I love the back band. I don't really love the seat. So on short runs, Wilson's Creek, the tow, I even felt it a little bit, but we stopped and got out on the Nola Chucky. It's like a 8-9 mile run, and I felt a little bit of uncomfort in the seat, just a little bit, but not like yesterday. Yesterday was a 12-mile run, and my butt was starting to bother me a little. Back band, no, back was great, but my rear end, it just wasn't comfortable all day long. So, but a 3-4 mile run, and it depends on the speed of the river. We were on section 3, and sometimes there's fast moving water, but then there's big, long, flat sections. So, wasn't the most comfortable towards the end of the day. Now I probably got 8 to 9 miles in before my hiney end started like, I need to do something with this seat. I am going to do something with the seat. And you may say, well, what are you going to do? So I'm going to take this thing apart, and these push pins, I'm going to figure out how to take those out, and I'm going to remove this pad, and I'm going to add a piece of foam, probably about a 1/2 inch of foam, which would be like 2 seat shims or something or other out of a Dagger or Piranha, maybe 3. But I'm going to add about a 1/2 inch of foam underneath here. And then, so the one thing that Dagger does is they really, if you've never owned a Dagger, then it's like never having a really, really good recliner. If you've never had a really good recliner, then your old one is just fine. But if you've had a really good recliner, and then you go to one that's not so good, you're like, yeah, this thing, I just need a lazy boy again. So Dagger outfitting is the lazy boy outfitting, for sure, hands down. I've not sat in anything more comfortable. Now granted, I've not sat in every boat that there is, and then also it's not just sitting in it, it's a time. I know as far as time-wise goes, even though I'm not crazy about Liquid Logic's the way that their back band rides on me, their seat is actually comfortable for me all day. And I've been on 16-mile days in Liquid Logic stuff. If I've got seat shims underneath my Piranhas, then they're comfortable to me all day. If I don't have seat shims, then my butt starts hurting me a little bit in some of the Piranha boats. And I'm also going to add a little bit more foam on the front end. And the one thing that Jackson is easily adjustability. But I'm going to make this boat that it actually pretty well just fits me. So you're not going to be as easy to switch in and out, because I'm going to have a raised up seat bottom. I'm going to have some leg lifters in here for me, and I'm also probably going to I've got one shim in already for my hip braces, and I may add another shim in for them also. Now let's go on to this part. So there's a video saying, okay, you got your new Jackson boat, you know, you need to take and trim down the foam, the bulkhead foam. Okay, I don't want to trim my bulkhead foam because I want that bulkhead tight, because I don't want to run airbags in the front. I just don't. I don't want front airbags. So if I've got really tight foam, then you don't get much water up there. So I didn't trim anything on mine. And is it, you know, is it easy to pull? No, it's not easy to pull. Now you can push it with your legs just fine. So what I do when I want to tighten up a little bit is I pop my skirt, I don't get out of the boat, and I take and stick my paddle through here like this, and I go around my paddle a few times, and then I hold the knot, and then I pull. And I can move this bulkhead just fine as long as I've got this string wrapped around my paddle a couple of times. I can grab a stick. That's what I first done, is I grabbed the stick out of the river and wrapped it around that stick a few times and then pulled it. Because the rope's pretty small, you know, to get a grip on. But, so that to me is not an issue of moving the bulkhead. What I actually would rather have, for me personally, because I mean, we're just about, most of us that rides together is nearly the same size. And I'm 6 feet, so about everybody's nearly the same. If you're a little bit bigger, you can, you know, maybe you're 6'1", you can just ease off the back band just a little bit and give your legs a little more room that way. If you're a little bit shorter, you can just press with your toes. You know, it's just, you're trying the boat out. It's not like that you're going to ride the thing forever. So I actually would prefer, I know Jackson is like, you know, we don't want boats with holes in them, but I would prefer to have, just like just about every boat manufacturer out there, I just seem to have some bolts in my bulkhead, that it was just a standard bulkhead. That's just me. I like having that thing very solid, and I know that there's some safety built into this Unishock system, that if you piton something real hard, that it'll give and maybe not break your ankles or something to that effect. And I understand that, but I'm not running 80-foot waterfalls. Don't plan to run 80-foot waterfalls. I might go look at an 80-foot waterfall, but to ride a boat off of it, no, I'm an old man. You know, that would have been younger years. So, you know, to me, to having okay, if I piton into something that it's going to give with me, that's just not the kind of stuff that I'm riding. Anyway, so let's set him down here, and we'll talk a little bit about the hull and of how this thing performs in the water. I do think that this is, and I'm no expert, that, you know, you got to take this with a grain of salt, what I'm telling you. I like how this boat attains. It attains nicely. I do like having the rocker profile on this and having a flatter front end, a flatter bow up here. It does, you know, come out real good. You know, have I rode the Gnarvana? Yeah, I've rode the old one, and this is definitely by far a better boat than the old one. A guy that's rode one forever, he got in this boat, and within probably 15 minutes, I got in his old Gnarvana, he got in my new one. And he come up and he said, dang it, He said, I didn't want to like this boat. He said, but it's better. And he had a blast that day. The rest of the day, he rode it the rest of the way out the run. And he said, I don't need to be buying a new boat right now. And I was like, okay. And he wished that I wouldn't have offered to let him ride it. So, and he's rode one for a long, long time. So take that for what it's worth. I think it's better than his boat. I rode it for half a run. I didn't like the old Gnarvana. I felt like my legs were pushed down a little bit. I felt like it was kind of uncomfortable to me. Not like, no, I can't ride it, but it wasn't as comfortable as this boat. The knees are a little higher in here. You're definitely a little more locked in with the bee's knees. I like to experiment on stuff, and I'm on, for me, yeah, they're fine, but I do like how locked in you can get with the leg lifter on a dagger. So at any rate, now on to the bottom of this thing, and so like I said, I've had this thing roughly a month. It is a little bit scratched up. Of course it is, because I ride these boats. The only thing that I can say that I don't like how it does is right in the middle right here where the track is. And I don't know if it's because of, so right here, and I can feel it, in the hull shape. And I noticed when I got the boat that the bolt for the seat was not real tight. And whenever I tightened the bolt up, that it's not completely flat here anymore. Now it's not like, it's not like oil canning, but I don't like how that's not flat anymore. And I think it's because of where you tighten that seat up, that it pulls the center of the boat a little bit. The rails, when I've got water around me, I love them. When I've got rocks, I don't like them so much. I don't feel like it's super rock friendly. Now you got to take into account, I'm not a class 5 paddler. I can't, I'm not going to be looping this boat anywhere. I can't do a loop. I don't know how. My trick is I turn over upside down, and sometimes I turn back up, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I blow a roll and I end up swimming. So, but I do like the rocker profile on it. Now on to the tail, to the stern here. This boat does what I thought it would do, as far as, if you're watching this, you've probably watching me get destroyed in Jaws. Now, so I lost my paddle. So that's what, if you didn't catch that in the video, Jaws is not real deep. And I was in it at what some says is the most retentive level that Jaws has, 1800 CFS. And it's still not very deep. But when it caught me, when I caught an edge, and I flipped over, my paddle got hung up. And of course, when you're rolling in that kind of current and your paddle gets hung, you're either gonna break a paddle or it's gonna jerk it out of your hands, and it jerked it out of my hands. So then, I don't know how to hand roll. I mean, I've tried, and just about it's pretty well been unsuccessful to just hand roll. But in that kind of current, as I come around, I just stuck my arm out and caught current, and it just rolled me right back up. It's not that I'm that great of a paddler. And then every time I'd flipped over, I would just hold my hands out. It would roll me right back up. So, but I do feel like that if I would have not lost my paddle, that I feel like I would have probably got out of that hole. Now, I've been in other wave holes. I've been in other ones, side surfing, and I've been able to get out of them by surfing out. So the rails on this, that's what I was hoping for, which is different with the code. The code, I didn't have enough rails, enough edges to, like, I wouldn't have paddled in the Jaws at 1800 with the code, because I knew I wasn't going to come out of there. So that's the difference right there of what kind of holes can you get out of. If you need to get out of holes a lot, then I would probably say you might ought to go up and get a scorch. Or something to that effect, something with more aggressive edges on it even than this. You see behind me here, I've got the Ripper 2. So, this is the boat that I ride 80% of the time, is the Ripper. And it's got, it's got good edges on it. I'll say that, it's got good edges on it. Now, the one thing, and they talked about it a little bit in some of the videos about the parting line of the boat, and I'll see if I can turn this thing around where we can see it a little bit better. So, talking about the parting line. So they talked about, that they moved, that the parting line wasn't down here no more, or that they moved it up. And they talked about the stern tapping. I don't generally stern tap a lot, but in this boat, and I don't know if it's because of how I'm coming off, that I'm coming off, I'm assuming it's because that I'm coming off flatter off of a booth, and as I'm going off that the stern is dropping, and that's why I'm stern tapping on this boat as much as I am. But I do find that I stern tap quite a bit. It looks like they've beefed it up back here to take the stern taps. And so the other day I was at Wilson's, and it was plus 3.5, and so I was watching someone come down through Boat Buster, and I got a little bit, I kind of lost track of exactly where I was at, and as I spun around, I realized, oh my goodness, I'm way too far to the right. Well, I went down into Thunder Hole completely on the right side, which, if you've rode up there, there's a huge hole down there. Normally you follow a tongue around that thing. I dropped straight into it. And this big old boat, even this boat as big as it is, it completely stern squirted me. I mean, completely vertical. I actually was wondering if I was coming all the way over on my top. And from playing all summer, trying to learn how to telly, I did lean back, and, it was boom, and it set back down, which I was a little surprised in this boat, but it did, it went up and it did push. I mean, I didn't stay in there. I was blowed out of the thing. But, the other thing for me is how good is the plastic, on a boat? Is it going to be, a soft plastic? Is it, and this one I feel like is I don't feel like it's as hard of a plastic as like Dagger or Piranha. They say Zet is really, really good plastic. This seems a little softer. I've made, and it's not that you don't scratch a boat up. If you're going to ride a boat in the river, you're going to scratch the thing up. I mean, anybody that rides a boat, you know that. I don't have any deep gashes or anything like that. But after a month, I do have, you know, quite a few scratches on the thing. But I've made, I don't know, probably six, let's see, maybe 8 laps on Wilson's, and an Olechucky lap, a couple of laps on the toe, and then a lap on Chattooga. So, you know, I've been in the boat. Some people, that would be, you know, that would be a half a year, maybe a year's worth of riding. And, you know, I've been riding a lot here lately. I think I've been in more laps than that on Wilson's. I've probably done 10 laps on Wilson's in this boat. But at any rate, I do, and it's not that you can't get down Wilson's, because the Go Fast day was negative. I think it was -9. So it was a little bony. That I generally don't ride it that low. I generally, about -6 is about as low as I go there. But you know, I was doing really well in the race, but then at the bottom of Razorback, I should have took a different line. I should have went more over towards the little hidden eddy and come that way. But I took my normal line off of there, and you know, I got broached on that rock. My tail grab flipped over, and I was too tired to. I couldn't even get set up to roll, so I ended up swimming. But if you drive this boat, so this is the thing that we're going to talk about that some people may or may not like. So if you really drive this boat, then this thing goes, the harder you drive it, the better it performs. I don't know any other way to put it than that. If you're wanting to really just kind of float around, and for me, sometimes that's exactly what I want to do. I want to just float around a little bit and, you know, look, and then, you know, okay, let's take a couple strokes and drive off. But this boat, you do need to drive it. And did it perform well in the race? It performed well in the race. It went everywhere I wanted it to go, but I was driving it the whole time. It was my fault completely. It had nothing to do with the boat that I broached on the rocks. That was a user error, not the boat's fault. As long as you keep your head down, this thing will pop right up. It's not difficult to roll. It's not the easiest boat I've ever rolled, but it's not difficult. It's a good boat to roll. But I have to keep my head down. If I start lifting my head, and that's a bad habit of mine, of sometimes lifting my head. I'm not sure why, but it seems like that's just something that happens to me. And I notice it, because if I lift my head up, I'll struggle. You know, sometimes I mostly do a sweep roll, and I'll have to sweep back, you know, to get on up if I've really lifted my head up. And then sometimes it don't work at all. Sometimes I'm right back under. Most of the times I'm right back under. But I'm glad that they do have a handle facing this direction. This makes it so much easier for carrying. And you know, when you're walking out of one, if you're in there with a buddy, it's even easier not to shoulder it, but for one to get on this one here and the boat here, and you know, just walk out with the things. You're equally loaded on each side. But so now, I told you in the first of it that I'm going to put this one up for sale, and what am I probably going to replace this boat with. So I've had a code. I love the code. I wouldn't say that I love this boat. Do I like it? Yes, I like it. I think it does just exactly what it's made for. And what it's made for is not what I do a whole lot. So, what am I going to replace it with? Probably a large ripper. That's what I'm thinking right now. I love this medium. I find it great. I find the stability's just fine. Yeah, when I'm playing around, do I ever now and again I get this tail in a bad way and it punishes me a little? Yes, sometimes it does. The large has got a little more volume. I won't be able to get the stern down as much, but we're working on that too. I'm also probably going to put this boat up for sale, and I'm intending on ending up with a large ripper and a new firecracker. So that's going to be my summer's boats. But if this one doesn't sell, I mean, I'm not going to give the boat away. I mean, it's a month old. It's got a handful of scratches on it, so I'm not going to give the boat away. But I'm going to knock a couple $100 off of the thing. And if someone's looking for a really nice used Gnar, you know, you can let them know, hey, look, here's a whole video of it. You know, if we want to meet up, we can meet up wherever. Pretty much anywhere here in the southeast, especially, you know, Nantahala, if you want to come to Nolechucky, Wilson's, wherever, you know, that kind of area. That's generally my roaming grounds. But, you know, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thanks for all you guys who subscribe. You know, I've had the channel for a while, and I think I've got like, I don't know, I ain't got that many subscribers. Maybe 360 subscribers, something like that, 350, somewhere's in there. But, you know, I'll make these things, some of these things I make for anybody that's interested, some of them just for me. So it's been kind of a long video, but, you know, to really go over things in a boat, I don't think, for me, I can't do it in 5 minutes. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Bye now.